Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're zooming in on something that is, well, literally inside your head right now. We're unpacking the profound reasons why mastering your own mind can completely transform your life. I mean, think about how much time we spend learning about the outside world, right? History, science, the newest tech. But how much time do we actually spend studying the very instrument we use to process all of that information? Today's Explainer is all about flipping that focus inward, and I promise you, the return on investment for this knowledge is absolutely huge.
So, let me ask you, who controls your decisions? You're probably thinking, I do, obviously. But do you really? Let's just break the fourth wall for a second here. There's this huge myth out there that psychology is just for therapists or academic researchers in stuffy university lecture halls. But the truth from our source material is the exact opposite. Psychology impacts literally every single part of your life. It dictates how you spend your money, the relationships you build, and the habits you fall into. The crazy reality is that most people are running on complete autopilot, going through years of their lives without ever really understanding the underlying operating system that governs their every move.
All right, let's dive into this. The human mind is, without a doubt, the most powerful tool you will ever possess. If you learn how it works, and more importantly, how to actually direct it, it can completely transform the way you think, act, and live. It's the engine behind every success and every failure you'll ever experience. Understanding psychology is essentially like finally getting the user manual for that engine.
Section 1. Mastering your inner self. This is the crucial first stage of our journey, looking inward.
Think of psychology like a giant mirror. It doesn't just feed you random facts. It actually reflects back your hidden thoughts, your underlying emotions, your deepest fears, and your daily habits. Have you ever wondered why you might feel totally confident chatting with a group of friends, but the second you have to stand up in front of an audience, you just completely freeze? Well, psychology holds up that mirror. It explains exactly what's happening inside your brain during those high-stakes moments and gives you the tools to break through those invisible barriers.
Let's look at what happens when you don't use that mirror. We call this the autopilot problem, and honestly, we all deal with it. Getting angry over a tiny typo without really understanding why. Procrastinating for hours when we know we have a deadline, yet we just can't figure out the cause. Feeling inexplicably anxious, stressed, or just completely lacking motivation for no obvious reason at all. When you go through life just reacting automatically, you are entirely at the mercy of those feelings. But when you uncover why you behave in a certain way, self-awareness kicks in. And that self-awareness is the absolute crucial first step to stopping these automatic negative reactions right in their tracks.
And this right here is where the real battle goes down. Logic versus emotion. We've all been there, right? That alarm rings at 6 a.m. and your logic says, "Get up, we have goals to crush today." But your emotions, they whisper, "Come on, just 5 more minutes." Or when you're trying to eat healthy, logic says, "Avoid that junk food." Emotion says, "Just 1 more bite." This intense internal tug-of-war happens literally dozens of times a day. How many times have you personally chosen comfort over discipline? Psychology teaches us exactly how these emotions influence our behavior, so we can finally learn to respond to situations deliberately instead of just caving to our immediate cravings.
So, here is the ultimate takeaway. The better you understand your emotions, the better your decisions become. Success isn't just determined by your IQ or some raw intelligence score. It's so often determined by how well you manage your emotions, your emotional intelligence. If you can conquer that morning alarm clock and say no to that junk food by recognizing the emotional triggers behind them, you are setting yourself up for a level of success that raw intelligence alone just cannot reach.
Section 2. Navigating human relationships. Let's zoom out a bit from the internal self, because life is built around people. To truly succeed with people, you kind of have to become a bit of a human decoder. Everyone operates on multiple levels, sort of like an iceberg. Up top, you have visible traits, which is just what people choose to let you see on the surface. But underneath all of that are hidden motivations, their unspoken intentions. And diving even deeper, you find concealed insecurities, their hidden fears. People very rarely show their true intentions or fears openly. So if you're only interacting with those surface-level visible traits, you're missing like 90% of the picture. And this brilliantly illustrates how we can apply this knowledge in 3 pretty simple steps. Step 1, you learn to spot behavioral patterns in others. Step 2, you use those patterns to understand their underlying motives. And step 3, because you now see the whole picture, you can communicate so much more effectively. Applying this knowledge strengthens your relationships and helps you navigate difficult situations with total confidence. You just become a better leader, a better partner, and a better friend.
Section 3. Escaping the attention economy.
Now we're zooming out even further to the macro level to see how the modern world works.
Millions. That is the sheer scale of the investment we're talking about here. Major tech companies spend literally millions of dollars studying human behavior. Why? Because they know that mastering psychology means mastering people. And they weaponize that understanding to compete for the single most valuable resource you have, which is your attention.
Be totally honest with yourself for a second. Have you ever opened an app on your phone, just intending to check it for like 5 minutes, and suddenly you realize you've been doom scrolling for an hour? I know I definitely have. Well, our sources highlight that this is absolutely not an accident. Social media platforms, streaming apps, they're all meticulously designed using core psychological principles. Their entire architecture is built to keep you glued to that screen for as long as humanly possible. They are literally hacking your dopamine receptors.
But hey, here's the good news. Understanding psychology is what helps you recognize these invisible influences, and that allows you to regain control of your attention from the algorithms. Psychological awareness acts as your personal shield. When you know exactly how the trap is designed, you don't fall into it. Instead of being completely controlled by an algorithm, you become intentional about how you spend your time and energy. You get to take the steering wheel back.
Section 4. Unlocking hidden potential. We've played defense, so now let's pivot back to offense. The human brain remains one of the absolute greatest mysteries in modern science, and researchers are constantly uncovering wild new things about it. Just think about these incredible mental processes for a second. Habit formation, motivation, memory, decision-making, creativity, and subconscious processing. Psychology gives us the keys to decode how every single one of these shapes our daily life. The more you understand how your mind actually wires a habit or processes information in the background, the more you can optimize it. Your brain turns from this confusing mystery into a highly optimized engine for learning and achieving your biggest goals.
Section 5. Your Psychology Starter Kit. Let's make this totally practical and get you started. I don't want to leave you with just a bunch of theory, so here is a fantastic, highly screenshotable reading list straight from our source material to help you build your foundation. Notice how each book tackles a totally different facet of the mind. If you want to understand human nature, Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature is just phenomenal. For decision-making and spotting cognitive biases, Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow is the absolute gold standard. To see how our minds actually shaped human history, check out Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. For diving deep into the subconscious, Joseph Murphy has you covered. And for linking mindset directly to success, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich is a must-read classic. Because at the end of the day, it all boils down to this. Psychology isn't just a subject. It is a toolkit for life. It helps you understand yourself, manage your chaotic emotions, improve your relationships with others, think more clearly, and make much better decisions. The better you understand the human mind, the better you understand yourself. And the better you understand yourself, the more absolute control you gain over the entire direction of your life. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Now that you're building this amazing toolkit, what are you going to change first? Are you going to finally conquer that morning alarm? Will you set strict boundaries with your doom scrolling? Or maybe decode a really tricky dynamic at work? The power is literally in your mind. Start exploring it today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I seriously cannot wait to see what you build with your new toolkit.